Have you ever wondered what the world would look like after a nuclear war? A chilling question, isn't it? The very concept of nuclear war carries with it an air of dread and fear. It's not just about the immediate destruction, the obliteration of cities, the loss of innocent lives in a flash. It's about the lasting consequences, the fallout that would linger for years, even decades after the bombs have fallen. Let's take a moment to delve into what a nuclear war could entail. Picture this: a world where the sun is blocked out by a nuclear winter, where the very air we breathe is contaminated with radioactive particles, where the water we drink, the food we eat, is poisoned by the remnants of a war fought with the most destructive weapons mankind has ever created. The devastation that a nuclear war would bring is not just limited to the physical destruction. The psychological toll, the trauma, the fear that would permeate the survivors' lives is almost unthinkable. The world as we know it would change, perhaps irreversibly. And then, there's the loss of life. Millions, possibly billions of lives would be lost in the conflict and in the ensuing aftermath. Each one of those lives is a story, a family, a dream cut short by the horror of nuclear warfare. It's a grim picture, isn't it? But it's a picture we need to understand. It's a picture we need to keep in our minds as we navigate the complexities of international politics, as we push for peace, as we strive for a world where the threat of nuclear war is a thing of the past. So why do we talk about it? Why do we delve into these dark scenarios? Because understanding the potential consequences, the sheer weight of a nuclear war, is crucial in preventing such a conflict from ever happening. Remember, every war carries a significant cost, and a nuclear war, its cost is unimaginable. Estimating the potential death toll in a nuclear war is a daunting task. It's like attempting to predict the path of a hurricane, but with far grimmer implications. We're not just talking about numbers here, we're talking about human lives. So what goes into this grim calculation? Let's start with the size and location of the nuclear bomb. A small device detonated in a sparsely populated area, while tragic, would yield significantly fewer casualties than a large bomb detonated in a bustling city center. The sheer power and destructive radius of the bomb itself is a major factor. Next, let's consider population density. The more people present in the blast radius, the higher the immediate death toll, but it's more than just raw numbers, it's also about the composition of the population. Are there many vulnerable individuals, such as the elderly or young children, in the affected area? These groups are more likely to succumb to injuries or radiation sickness than healthy adults. Now, let's talk about radiation. Immediate exposure can be deadly, but the effects of radiation don't stop there. It lingers in the environment, contaminating water, soil, and air. This means that even after the initial blast, people can still fall ill or die from radiation sickness. And this doesn't just affect those in the immediate vicinity of the blast. It can also impact people far away, as radiation spreads through air currents and water systems. Lastly, we must consider the long-term effects. The aftermath of a nuclear explosion isn't just about the immediate casualties, it's also about the ongoing health effects, the damage to infrastructure, the loss of resources, and the societal upheaval that follows. These factors can lead to more deaths in the weeks, months, and even years following the initial event. The numbers are staggering, and they only represent a fraction of the overall impact. Just remember, behind each estimated number is a person, a life, a story. It's a sobering reminder of the true cost of nuclear warfare. The immediate impact of a nuclear blast is devastating. The very moment a nuclear weapon detonates, a wave of unfathomable destruction is unleashed. The scale of this catastrophe is not something we can easily wrap our minds around, but we can try to understand its components. At the core of the blast, temperatures can reach several million degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. This intense heat generates a fireball, which vaporizes everything within its reach, and the shockwave that follows can cause widespread destruction, flattening buildings and structures in a wide radius. Simultaneously, an intense burst of radiation is unleashed. This radiation is powerful enough to cause immediate fatalities within a certain radius, depending on the size and yield of the weapon. It's a silent killer, invisible to the naked eye, but deadly nonetheless. Let's talk about the casualties. The immediate death toll from a nuclear explosion is determined by a multitude of factors. Proximity to the blast center is perhaps the most significant. But it's not just about distance. Population density plays a critical role too. A nuclear blast in a densely populated city will tragically result in a higher death toll than one in a sparsely populated area. Additionally, the immediate casualties can also be influenced by the time of day. An explosion occurring at night when most people are indoors could potentially result in fewer immediate deaths compared to a blast during the day when people are out and about. The immediate impact of a nuclear explosion is a terrifying blend of intense heat, crushing pressure, and lethal radiation. It's a force that brings with it instant death and destruction on a scale that's hard to comprehend. The immediate casualties, the destruction of infrastructure, the obliteration of entire areas, all these factors serve as a grim reminder of the devastating potential of nuclear weaponry. The immediate impact alone is enough to cause unimaginable devastation. The immediate aftermath of a nuclear detonation paints a picture of a world we hope to never witness. But the damage from a nuclear war doesn't end with the blast. In the aftermath of a nuclear explosion, the world would be left to grapple with the long-term effects. One of the most immediate concerns would be radiation sickness. This condition results from extensive exposure to high levels of radiation, causing severe illness and, in many cases, death. The symptoms might not appear until weeks after the exposure, making it a silent and insidious killer. And then, there's the environmental damage. The intense heat and pressure from a nuclear blast would decimate the immediate surroundings, reducing buildings to rubble and trees to ashes. The radiation would contaminate the soil, the water, the air, every aspect of the environment. This contamination could persist for years, even decades, making the affected areas uninhabitable and killing off plant and animal life. But the most chilling, long-term effect of a nuclear war might be the potential for a nuclear winter. This is a hypothetical scenario where the smoke and soot from the fires caused by nuclear explosions rise high into the atmosphere. They block out the sun's rays, causing a dramatic drop in temperatures worldwide. This nuclear winter could last for years, leading to a collapse in global food production. This alone could result in the death of billions from starvation. These factors significantly contribute to the estimated death toll of a nuclear war. But the true cost is not just in the number of lives lost in the immediate aftermath. It's in the slow, agonizing death from radiation sickness, in the loss of biodiversity and the desolation of our environment, in the potential starvation of billions due to a nuclear winter. The long-term effects of nuclear war are a grim reminder of the devastating power of these weapons. They underscore the importance of nuclear disarmament and the pursuit of peace, because in the end, the true casualty of a nuclear war is not just the people who die in the blast, but the world that is left behind. The long-term effects of nuclear war extend far beyond the initial blast, affecting generations to come. When we talk about nuclear war, we're talking about more than just numbers. Yes, indeed, it's about the very fabric of our society, our civilization, and our planet. When we consider the aftermath of a nuclear war, we have to look beyond the immediate casualties and destruction. We have to look at the bigger picture. Imagine, if you will, a world in the grip of nuclear winter. The economy, already devastated by the immediate impact of the war, would be further crippled by the loss of agricultural production. With the collapse of the global food supply chain, famine would spread across the world. Economies, both local and global, would crumble, and the disparity between the haves and have-nots would widen. The social fabric of communities would be torn apart as people struggle to survive in a world turned upside down. The political landscape would be forever altered, with power vacuums creating instability and perhaps leading to further conflict. The very notions of democracy, human rights, and international law might be severely challenged, if not entirely discarded, in the face of such a catastrophe. But this grim picture doesn't have to become reality. Nuclear disarmament is more than just a lofty goal. It's a necessity for the survival and prosperity of humanity. Each and every one of us has a role to play in promoting peace. From the choices we make at the ballot box to the conversations we have with our friends and family, our actions can make a difference. We must remember that the threat of nuclear war doesn't just hang over those countries with nuclear weapons. It's a shadow that falls on all of us, regardless of our nationality or location. The fallout from a nuclear war would respect no borders. Its impact would be felt by everyone, everywhere. Nuclear war is a threat to all of humanity, and it's up to us to ensure it remains a thing of the past. Let's stand together, for peace, for disarmament, for a future where the specter of nuclear war is but a distant memory. It's not just about survival, It's about preserving the world we love for future generations.